Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What's the most fucked up thing someone has told you about themselves after barely getting to know them? I coached cross-country for a number of years when I taught high school. We had a kid join the team who was a pretty good runner. A few weeks into the season, one went to a football game to support some of my students. While I was there, this new kid's mother came over and talked to me a bit. She said, "I'm a little worried about him running so hard. His daddy died of heart problems." Then she paused and said, "Well, not the man he thinks is his daddy, but his actual daddy." I spent the next 3 years convinced that I was going to accidentally spill the beans to that poor kid. "Hey, take it easy for a bit, Timmy, you're kinda panting pretty hard. Get some water. You don't want a heart attack like your dead real dad, do I?" Fuck, to be clear, I am not suggesting that your mother has been lying to you your whole life about who your daddy is. Let's get that crazy thought out of your head, right? Oh, you weren't thinking that at all. Anyway, time for sprints. Quote, LMAO, you just reminded me of a story of when I was in high school. We had a new teacher who was freshly out of college and was very much a book smart but not street smart type of person. He wanted to make a good impression, so at the beginning of the year he set up meetings with all the parents of the kids in his class. One of my friend's parents made a similar comment like the one in your story, basically saying how she was worried that her son might find out that he's adopted and that might make his grades drop. This was meant to be a very obvious joke as she and her husband were black and her son was unambiguously white, but the teacher never put two and two together. It was revealed after a classmate had mentioned the student was adopted and the teacher pulled him aside to tell him not to spread that information because the son didn't know. No way, bless him. I had a similar teacher who was a long-term sub. He was young and cool, but you could tell he was new to the job. He had a hard time controlling the class because they treated him like a friend. Anyways, we were reading The Crucible, and were running behind, so we weren't going to finish the book on time, so he figured we could speedrun it by watching the movie. Well, I was in his first period class, and we all found out together that the opening scene featured full nudity and titties. He was cool, so no one ratted on him. I had a lady start at my job and in a very quick succession. She told me a lot about her sex life with her husband, and then dropped the bomb that her stepkids got taken away because her husband was a pedophile. Then shortly after that, invited me to a Christmas party at her house. I declined. Boundaries, much. Woozy face. Narrator, there were not, in fact, boundaries. Quote, the Christmas party was on an island. I helped a handicapped person across the street a month ago while thanking me. He told me he killed his brother because he raped his wife. Edit, to clear it up. The handicapped man's brother raped the handicapped man's wife. Handicapped man off the brother. Well, sounds like his brother deserved it. Person shrugging. I got hired at a Dunkin' Donuts in a very small town in Maine. The general manager disclosed with me during the interview that she had slept with her biological father. She wanted to make sure I heard it from her before I heard it from anyone else. "Mom, this is a Dunkin' Donuts. Thank you for interviewing at Dunkin' Donuts. I fucked my biological father. Please tell me a little more about yourself and why you applied here." Grin. Well, I broke both my arms. Woman at church told me she couldn't figure out why her teen daughter lived with her father and had gone no contact. It was because that woman had accused that daughter, at 11, of seducing her stepfather. She honestly couldn't figure out what the problem might have been. My mom accused me of this when I was 15. She wonders why I don't have a good relationship with her. My foster mom accused me of trying to seduce her husband. Ironically, they forced me to have phone sex with their friend for money. So glad they're both dead. The fact this was told to you at church makes this story so deliciously ironic. A woman sat next to me on a plane once and randomly told me that when her husband had his buddies over, she would strip naked and let them have their way with her, and that her husband was into it. Okay, that was an invitation. Yes, it was. Maybe she wanted you to join her in the bathroom. It's kind of impossible these days with how small the bathrooms on planes are. Or maybe it's just the cheaper airlines that makes them so small only one person can fit in them. That is disgusting. Where was this? Who is her husband? What sort of stuff is he into? What's his favorite beer? Please give us their address so we know exactly which house to avoid. I don't think you have to worry about buying beer. He sounds like the kind of guy that would share his beer. I was working in the oil field and I can't remember exactly what I was doing, but I was in our tool shack putting something together, and one of the indigenous guys we employed while working on their land came in and just opened with the fact his wife committed suicide in bed beside him one night and he woke up to that. Then proceeded to tell me he got new rims for his truck but they didn't fit, so he needed to get a new truck for his rims. Shit, how does a man deal with that? Did he manage to find a truck to fit the rims? I never found out. Unfortunately, we finished that project and moved on, so I never got closure. Had a Lyft driver in Boston tell me about fleeing Russia BC. He saw his wife raped and murdered in front of him. It was like a 5 minutes ride. How does that even pop into conversation? Hi, how are you? Shit weather we're having, huh? Yes. It reminds of the day I witnessed my wife get raped and murdered in front of my very own eyes. It was terrible. After that I swore never to return to Russia. Ever. Oh, here's your stop, sir. Have nice day. Quote, don't forget a good rating. Sounds like it didn't matter who heard it, he just needed to say it aloud to another person. You basically paid him to be his therapist, lol. Not nearly as bad, but had a less than 10-minute ride in a Lyft. Told him I was about to move to another part of the country. He told me he just moved from there and hated it so much, and every day he was there he wanted to kill himself and everyone there is on so many drugs because it's a horrible place to live. Okay, bye dude, thanks for the well wishes, glad you're not there anymore, lol. Was he right? I'm married, on a first date. Oof, been there, but she didn't mention it until the third date. Also informed me that she had 3 kids as well. I knocked out of there so fast. Yeah, at least you didn't find out the hard way through someone else. I have encountered a guy the first liked who actually lied about getting divorced in order to get attention from me. He also had another GF and 2 adopted kids on the side of still having a wife, but instead of being honest with me about it, he ghosted me and I found out months later through a friend of his after being concerned about his well-being. I was gutted. I'm 8 months pregnant, on a first date. Well, she didn't have to say it, it was quite obvious. She failed to mention that in the dating profile, nor did she mention her coke-dealing addict ex-boyfriend baby daddy. Knocked out of that situation pretty quickly. I've been on a first date where she was pregnant as well. She was very clear about trying to find someone to be on the birth certificate. Nope. Bye. A couple of my friends introduced me to this dude they were friends with, whose name was John. John was a bouncer at a local strip club and confessed that he slept with all the hot strippers on a regular basis. He told me he gets a fresh, beautiful woman in his bed once a week at a minimum. He then went on to tell me he's had so many STDs that it was like he was trying to collect them or something because he's too stupid to wear a condom when he drinks. He told a story about his dick dripping yellow discharge and burning like fire. His friends joked that the doctors were going to name the next new STD after John. Then he started hitting on me and making me very uncomfortable, so my friend Max told him to fuck off. The guy was like, I'm a bouncer, and I'll fuck you up. Max gave him a shove, and he backed down, but it was a bit scary for a minute. Trying to put the moves on someone, after just talking about how riddled with STDs they are, is definitely an interesting decision. I once had a dude hit on me as I was helping him apply for rental assistance so he could find a place to live after he finished treatment for meth use. I was working at his health center and could see his many health conditions, including STIs. Granted, long-term meth use is not good for your impulse control, even after you stop using, since it takes 6+ months for your brain to recover. Not my most off-putting experience with a patient, but it definitely stuck in my mind, lol. Bounced at a strip club. The very first thing the other bouncer told me on day 1 was to bang the girls. He made that mistake 3 times apparently, and he gets 3 reminders of it on his paychecks. Tears of joy. Honestly, it was the most boring bouncing job I had. I was just one of the girls basically. Edit, not bang the girls. I can't imagine it's a great idea. I used to hang out in a strip club, my bar burned down, and the drinks were cheap there, and the owner was cool as hell. Those girls, while very, very kind, had all sorts of personal issues they were working through. The very first thing the other bouncer told me on day 1 was to bang the girls. Listen kid, you get your dick in there and you get it in there right now. I don't make the rules. Quote. I went to a strip club and a dancer sat down with me at the bar. She told me that she has a man bitch back at her house who does everything for her, the laundry, dishes, pays her bills. She asked me to come back to her place and fuck her right in front of him and to fuck him to show him his place. I don't even think I told her my name before she started talking. So, how was the sex? That bitch was crazy. I didn't put my dick anywhere near her. Now that's a woman who values her time. You're either going to be into it or nope out, and she'll know in 2 minutes or less. You'd think this would save time in the long term, but not necessarily. I was friends with a woman, also a stripper, who, along with her boyfriend, were into what I can only describe as weird sex shit. Like, they had fetishes I had legitimately never heard of. It got pretty dark, actually. Anyway, one day they decide they're gonna head out, find a random dude, and have her fuck him in front of the boyfriend. So she dolls herself up, and I'd say when she was in stripper mode she was a solid 8, if you're into the gothic Lolita thing. She was very much of age, just liked wearing petticoats and shit. So they're rolling around downtown and stop to ask a few guys. Now, you have to understand that while my friend wasn't particularly intimidating, her boyfriend was a metalhead and steroid freak who was built like Gimli if he was 5 feet 10. He looked like a psycho, and it turns out he really was. That's another story though. Nobody believed her. Everyone thought she was the bait and he was gonna rob and kill them. They managed to find one guy who was down, but his friends wouldn't let him. He was wasted and tried to get in the car, but they physically picked him up and carried him away while one screamed, "They're gonna fucking kill you, man." Eventually she found a homeless guy who was down. A good-looking one, though. He was just down on his luck. Working on his music career. "Damn lady, you're the one who fucked him." Anyway, according to her, never again. "It took 2 hours and I didn't even come. Just sitting at a bar and waiting is faster." Quote,